Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine and this is Raspberry Reads. I'm doing my April wrap-up video for you today, and I finished 4 books in the month of April. Again, it was a mixed bag. I have one that's a 5-star read but with a huge caveat, and I'll get into that when I speak about that book, and all the other ones were 3-star books. And every single one, no, pardon me, 3 of the books were historical fiction and one of them was fantasy. So let's just get into it, shall we? So the first book that I finished in April was The Witchfinder's Assistant by Ruth Goldstraw, and I listened to this on audiobook. This book is not well known. There aren't a huge number of reviews on Goodreads, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. So it's one that if you have a particular interest in this area, it might be worth listening to, but otherwise probably one to give a miss. So The Witchfinder's Assistant is set in England during the Civil War periods, the 1600s, and it's all about a husband who works with the Justice of the Peace as a witchfinder's assistant. So this is the period where witch hunting was quite common. The book is mainly about his relationship with his wife, whose name was Zipporah. And Zipporah has a very troubling past, and you find out about her situation throughout the book and why she has such a poor reputation in the community. So I would say, really, even though it's called The Witchfinder's Assistant and it is centered on the main character, John Payne, I think his name is, John something anyways, I would argue that actually the book is about his wife. So this is a murder mystery, and it's basically set up that bodies are found throughout the community with pierced with thorns, and like thorns sewing the mouths together, and everybody understandably starts panicking, and they suspect it is witchcraft, and so a witch hunt ensues. And so yeah, it's a lot about superstition, but counteracted by John, the witchfinder's assistant, who is sort of the voice of reason within the whole thing. And yeah, from that, for that reason, it offered a very different perspective than your typical book about witches. And I did enjoy the characters. I would say I probably enjoyed the character of Zipporah, the wife, the most. I found her quite a complex and troubled character, whereas the character of John, the Witchfinder's assistant, felt a little bit flat to me, as did the other characters. So yeah, it was an interesting book to listen to, and I'm glad I read it. And if you are particularly interested in witch hunts, the Civil War period in England, then this might be one for you to check out. The second book that I finished, and this is one of the ones that I referenced in a previous video about books that I really wanted to finish by the end of June. So this is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. It is the 4th, I believe, book in the series. I read it as an ebook, and I've already talked about this book quite a bit, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. I haven't finished, I haven't read the 5th book yet. And obviously there's 2 new books in the series coming out this year. But so far this is my least favorite book. It felt very tedious, very forced. Yeah, a book that she basically had to get out to be Christmas themed, and it just didn't do it for me. However, I feel like you kind of need to read the book because it does have some important wider plot points that kind of tie the earlier books into the later books. And so for that reason, if you are reading the ACOTAR series, don't miss this one. But otherwise, give it a miss. I don't know why you would read it as a standalone book. You'd only be reading it if you were reading the whole series. And yeah, some people have commented on Goodreads that there are some particularly good spicy scenes in this one. I didn't really find them as the case. I definitely preferred some of the other books. So yeah, a bit of a miss for me, but I'm glad I finished it anyways. And I'm hoping to get to book 5 in the summertime. I'll have to put it on hold to be able to finish it before the 2 new books come out later in the year. The third book that I listened to, and this is a book that was popular last year, 2025, possibly shortlisted for the Booker Prize. I can't remember. One of the book prizes anyways. This is Seascraper by Benjamin Wood. I listened to this on audiobook and I waited quite a while to be able to listen to it. I liked it and I didn't like it at the same time. So first of all, it was narrated by the author, and the premise is that the main character, Thomas, is a sea scraper. So he's a shrimp farmer, but he takes his horse-drawn wagon and scrapes the shrimp from the shore. But he really wants to be a folk musician. So there's a lot of singing in the audio version, which added a very different perspective to it. And it was actually sung by the author, Benjamin Wood. So from that perspective, the book felt very self-indulgent. And I don't know why. Once I knew that he was singing, I was like, oh, this is a little bit like performative. It was weird. It was a weird story, but I kind of liked it. I liked the character of Thomas. It was quite atmospheric. So you're following Thomas, who goes out quite early in the morning. And there's a lot of detail about him and his horse going on to the beach and, trying to collect the shrimp, and if it was a good day, bad day. How he found himself in that position, lots to do with his relationship with his mother and his father, who's no longer on the scene. And then there's this sort of second part of the book that has to do with Thomas's love of folk music, him wanting to be a performer, and then meeting somebody from Hollywood. So yeah, it was a weird book, but I did enjoy it. The only thing is I found the kind of concepts of time and place a little bit confusing in this book. So I had to look up where exactly it was in England because I couldn't place it. I had to look up what time period it was set because there were hints along the way, but I couldn't quite get the feel of it because, he's doing a manual job with a horse-drawn cart, and so that could tell you that it could be sort of any point in history where horses were used regularly, but actually I think it was in the 60s. So yeah, I'm undecided on this one. So if you've read Seascraper, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Did you enjoy it or not, and why? So I gave it 3 stars, but it's a very much like middle of the ground 3 stars, where I didn't dislike it, I didn't love it. I think I recommend it, but maybe not. If you like weird literary fiction, then you'll probably enjoy it. And then the last book that I want to talk about, and I've mentioned this book several times, is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. So this was our book club pick for April, and I gave it 5 stars. But that comes with a big caveat. So first of all, it is huge. It's a big old book. He writes very long, detailed books. The font is ridiculously small. So I really struggled to get through this book. It took me a long time. And for that reason, like the actual physical task of reading this book is not a 5-star read. It was quite annoying actually how long this book was. But the reason why I gave it 5 stars is because in a very niche way, this book was perfect for me. We had a really good conversation during book club about this book. Everybody, for the most part, who showed up. Some people didn't finish the book and they didn't show up. But for those who did finish the book and showed up, most of them said it wasn't their favorite. They didn't really like it. But despite people not enjoying it, we had a really good conversation about lots of aspects of the book that we did enjoy. So a lot of us really liked the characters, how detailed the characters were, their relationships. lots of themes throughout the book and how different emotions were portrayed. So this book, I should say, first of all, Abraham Verghese is a physician by training. He also has Ethiopian heritage and lives in the US and is a very well-respected doctor there. This book has so many overlaps with, I suspect it was inspired by his life. To what extent it is actually, I don't know, but this book is set in Ethiopia, and it's all about surgeons, a family of medical practitioners, and so it's a multi-generational family saga. Parts of it have to do with India and migratory groups to Ethiopia. You've got the main location that the book is based in is Missing Hospital in Addis Ababa, and it's set in the 1950s, I believe. Yes, it starts in the 1950s because you have it basically as the main characters kind of all come to be at the hospital, and then the two boys are born, and the story goes from there. So the story is told from this perspective of Marion, who's one of the two twins, Shiva being the other one. And yeah, the narrator is Marion, and both Marion and Shiva end up becoming medical practitioners to some extent. So there's a lot of detail in this book about surgery, about women's health, about migration, about the Ethiopian civil war. Are we calling it a civil war? Well, the unrest in Ethiopia. It didn't give me enough detail to be able to to tell you what exactly it was, but the history of Ethiopia during this time period. And also lots of detail about class and socioeconomic disparity, both in Ethiopia and then when it turns to being in the US and hospital settings there. So, would I recommend this book to people? No. In fact, this book is going back to the charity shop because I cannot think of anybody that I know who would enjoy this book. It's definitely a Marmite book. For me, though, I did my PhD in the history of medicine. I've spent many, many years researching the history of medicine, not specific to this, but in general. I've always been interested in the history of medicine and surgery. I wanted to go to medical school, didn't, but it's always been an interest of mine. There's also quite a lot about, as I said, women's health and things like FGM, fistula, and I worked for an FGM charity, anti-FGM charity, for several years. So it's very specifically niche to me, and that's why I enjoyed it so much. So if your interests and expertise overlaps with mine, then maybe you would enjoy this book. I have The Covenant of Water, which is also by Abraham Verghese, on my shelf. It was one of the books that I set out to finish in June, and then coincidentally, this one was picked for book club. So I'm not going to get to The Covenant of Water anytime soon because this was a task and a half to finish, and I need a break from this author's writing style. But yeah, so 5-star read with a caveat. Most people would probably not like this. Those are the 4 books that I finished in April. I think I'm going to leave this video here for today and then do a separate video about what I'm currently reading just to update you on that. But that just leaves me to say that I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, and I will see you soon in a new video. Take care. Bye.